As the Budapest Major ended, there was one main question being asked. Who would pull the trigger and make the big roster changes to finally challenge Vitality? There were the usual rumours with Falcons. Would Maus try and get PR? And could it even be the end of the road for Alexi B and Wonderful at Na'Vi? We didn't get any of those moves, but roster changes did still happen. And we'll be looking into them today, just after the first online tournament of the year, Blast Bounty, has reached the LAN phase. I think the first question you ask is why did so few moves happen? I'm not sure if it's because of Valve's recent change that took away a lot of the sponsor money from teams when it was announced to change to something regarding the skin sponsors, or if it's just the fact that teams now have such huge buyouts and it's making everyone kind of just unappealing, because nowadays you're buying players that are just prospects for 7 figures and that's pretty unreasonable. So maybe this is explaining why we haven't seen the changes that perhaps we thought we were going to see. But let's get into what we do know, and this is the famous tier list. So if you're here from last year, remember this. Just go through the topics quickly. So we have unsure. That's because there's some teams here I don't follow so much, and I don't really know the players. Makes it kind of difficult for me to gauge. I don't really want to just throw people in there for the sake of it. Obvious downgrade. Is this better? Is it just a sideways move? Upgrade. Ones to watch, maybe not particularly meaning that it's a big upgrade, but just something kind of exciting. I had to think of like VP from last year, I didn't really think of it down as maybe like a great move, but it was something that was going to be exciting, right? And then drops to Vitality, the S tier move, the move that could challenge teams to beat Vitality potentially. Which teams are they going to be? Let's jump into this then. But first, a word from today's sponsor, Skinland. Now also the official partner of Team Vitality, one of the best CS2 teams. Selling your skins? It is now available again despite Valve's new Steam trade protection system. Just set your trade link, click the gift icon, and enter promo code ASH to get a $10 bonus if you sell over $100. Pick your items, enter your email, and choose a payment method. Thanks to Skinland's new system, you get instant payouts right after the trade is completed. No need to wait for the trade protection period to end. You can even choose site balance to instantly buy new skins. Looking to buy? After Valve's latest update, many skins have dropped in price, so now is a perfect time to buy. Skinland offers the largest selection at the lowest prices, much cheaper than Steam. Plus, the site supports tons of payment methods, making deposits fast and simple. And here's a pro tip. Bookmark Skinland so it's always a click away. Check out the link in the description and use code ASH to grab that bonus and start trading with Skinland. The first one we'll talk about, we'll go with Snacks, the Gamerlegion. Polska Górem. No, I think I'll put this in upgrade. I think I put this in upgrade because I think the team was really lacking a lot of experience last year. And as the expectations kind of changed a lot, that's really what was lacking. So Snacks has as many kills on HLTV and maps played as like anybody in the history of the game. He's going to bring a lot of that. Also, the team's worked with him before, so he knows kind of what is expected from the organization. This will be a good move. He's a really good in-game leader as well. I think this will be an upgrade, even though I do think ZTR is a very, very good in-game leader himself. Just kind of like the experience right now is what the team is lacking. You bring in all this experience, how can you not say like it's an upgrade, even if it's nothing to do with the quality of the call or anything else. So I'll put that as upgrade. Then we have 100 Thieves who have rejoined Counter-Strike. They're here for a very short period of time, a very long time ago, the Brazilian lineup. And I'm not even sure if they played a few games with them. There were some controversial comments and they went straight out of Counter-Strike. So it's nice to see these guys back. And the lineup they have, so Rain, Device, Agile, Sarah, and Poise, who's a mixture kind of experience and new players, and they also have Glaive as coach. And this is a difficult team. And if this team right now was thrown into Tier 1 with an in-game leader who's never in-game led before, a coach who's never coached before, and then 3 younger guys, I would say this is something that just wouldn't work. But because of the path they're kind of taking, which is just not buying a core, taking the time and building up through Tier 2, I think that gives Rain more time to understand who he needs to be as an in-game leader. And the same with Glaive, understanding like getting used to coaching, because it's such a huge change when you go to this. And then get that experience with the organization expectations. There will be a lot of fans as well, just easing into some results, playing some low pressure environments, building up some win percentages, and then going to Tier 1. I think that is such a big difference. I'm going to put this team here. I have Poi down as one of my standout young players in the world right now. Very high on the list as well. And I think Device is very underrated at the moment. Very underrated. People are just writing him off. I think he just is a bit fed up with Astralis towards the end anyway. So that's a lot of experience there. I think Rain will do a good job. He might just need a little bit of time to find his footing. And those 3 guys, young players, good players. This is a team that is definitely there, one to watch. PatrikZero for the Mongolz. I actually watched him on my Twitch channel. Maybe check the link in the description. I do go live there sometimes. Try to figure out kind of what player that they've signed. And a big problem you kind of have a lot of time in the national teams is you just don't have the talent pool. And this is kind of the next two teams, which is going to have this problem. So when one particular player falls out, maybe there's a player that's just good enough to play, but the chance of him fitting the roles you need is just almost nothing. So PatrikZero was playing kind of more resource heavy on T side, like doing some moves, but on CT side is playing like monster position on overpass, so more anchor, which isn't like Senzu at all. And he didn't really seem in the Huns like they had any sort of structure at all. In regards to utility and things like this, it was just comfort play, comfort play, comfort play, and I don't like that at all. But talent-wise, aim-wise, he looks fantastic. And is this something that the Mongols are lacking? Talent, raw aim, mechanical ability? Absolutely not. This is their biggest strength. I think this is probably why controllers fit in really well, because he was older and he had more experience and he could kind of just play off his teammates. I'm not sure that PatrikZero is ready for that right now. And when I'm comparing him to Senzu, rather than even controllers, I think you have to put it as a downgrade, because Senzu is just so good. Like, so good. Like a top 20 HLTV player for a talent, even if that talent is like the best talent in the world, it's still going to be a downgrade. So for now, I'll put that there. I don't know why everyone is unsure, but they are, but that will change. And Soulfly to Aurora. This is a difficult one to be positive about. I do know some things about Soulfly, because he's been around for a very long time in tier 2. I think a lot of teams have looked at him, and maybe Aurora have said, hey, look, just wait, we'll come for you eventually. But this is a player, if you haven't seen him before, he is a very, very aggressive space-taking entry player on T side, and he was more of a rotation player on CT side with a bit of anchoring. That was kind of how he was playing on Fireflux, his team, right? So I looked at some stats, and last year he had 32% on T side entry attempts, 32%. That is one of the highest in the world. It's actually 17th highest in the world. And this last bounty, I think they only played 5 or 6 maps. He had 16%. And that puts him in the bottom 20% of players completely, which is with like in-game leaders and other things. So this is a complete flip on kind of what the player he is. And this is like the same thing as PatrikZero in my eyes, is that Soulfly probably is the best player not named xCloud that you could get, assuming xCloud wants to come back for the 3rd, 4th time, which I imagine he probably wouldn't do. And you just have to take him and you have to put him in the roles. And for that reason, I have to put him as a downgrade, because I believe Jota was really good at his roles, and I really liked Jota. I thought he was a very, very good player. He understood what he kind of needed to do, and even if he was learning it, the expectations were lower. He came in, they did really well, they raised those expectations, but the expectations are still high. And this guy is going to have to completely learn how to be an anchor player, and he might never be as good as Jota at doing this. He might be as good as it as well, but it's going to take time. And in that period, whilst the window closes, they are going to be weaker because of it. So for obvious reasons, I think you have to put that as downgrade, unfortunately. Crizzen and Susp. I did my rookie tier list of the year last year. Do you like a tier list? Crizzen was very, very high on this list. And so I think Susp was C or D tier, I think. But he's had a pretty strong year as well. He's got a lot of experience. I think him and his brother are very, very talented, Adam B. I can't remember which team he plays for. He plays for OG, I think, now. But Crizzen is a very good in-game leader. So they lost LNZ and they lost Youngster. I think LNZ was a bit underrated, like the attitude he kind of brought. He was the guy shouting, screaming, leading from the front. Youngster had quite a lot of moments as well. Probably still some question marks over Alcaran, who right now is missing Blast Bounty as well for some reasons. I'm not quite sure why. I like this team. I think the whole lineup is coming together really well. I would put this team even in ones to watch. They have Nilo and xCloud, two fantastic, consistent fraggers. Crizzen as an in-game leader has got a lot of talent. Susp is solid. That AWP question mark, just is Alcaran going to come back and evolve kind of into his next step? Are they going to bring a top tier AWP in? Like, I mean, they have the VRS core right now, right? And Alcaran is part of that. So they are using Youngster as AWP for this event. This is an exciting young team. Heroic really finding the best talents and giving them a go. This is their kind of identity. This is a good lineup, something that's very interesting for sure. Kenny, I don't know so much about him, but so far they played one game and they lost to Liquid. I don't think that's a great sample size or anything like this. So for now, I think it's hard to kind of judge it. Is he better than Udrix? I think Udrix was given quite a long time. And I think they need him to be better than Udrix. I had Nip last year in the top tier, the absolute top tier for roster changes. I thought they nailed it and they were really on for it. And this is, in my opinion, I think this is one of the biggest misses I had last year, because I thought they would be way better. They took a long time to get through the tier 2 space, which is understandable. And when they came through, they didn't really have so many results. And then it seemed like it was going right, and then it kind of flattened out again. So they kind of need him to do well. I remember him being a very talented player when we played against him. I think he destroyed us one game. I would call this an upgrade for now, but I think NIP really start showing things. And this start of the year, losing to Blast Bounty, it's a little bit of alarm bells, because I think Liquid aren't looking great themselves. But this is probably a step in the right direction for now, so we'll call it an upgrade. And we have Magix and Zontix. I had it last year. Zontix was, for me, the most underrated player in the scene. I couldn't understand why he was getting so much criticism. I don't know if it was Vu making fun of him for saying he doesn't aim at head height or something like this. He was just so good in his roles. His numbers were very consistent. He just seemed to not be overawed playing with Donk or anything like this. He just leave him to it in his own positions. I remember as like an Anubis player, just super strong on A, and most teams playing 3A players to try and get like the same value out of it. I think he's a very underrated player, and Magix just seems to be Donk's favorite teammate, or just a great teammate in person. And someone, whenever I've interacted with him, he seems like super nice and friendly as well. I think just because he isn't Chopper, Spirit will be enjoying this, and I don't think that's anything to do with Chopper. I think the community have just decided Chopper is bad at his job, and when the community decide these things, it just becomes true even if it isn't. And just not having Chopper, bringing Magix in, that will lift everything. And so far in the games they've played, the Sinners game was very very questionable. I thought they were going to lose that one there, but after that they played in a circle. It looked way better after a couple of slow starts. Donkey's just doing Donk things again. This is the one that could be scary for Vitality. It's the only top tier team that made a change, except for Mongolz. So this one has to go into the top tier. This is the one that Vitality might be losing a little bit of sleep about. They took Zwei out, who's struggling, and Chopper out, who's taking a lot of criticism. So Magic for Chopper, maybe it's similar, maybe it's a slight downgrade, but I think the vibes and everything he brings, that is a positive and it will count for something. And I think Zontix is just so good right now. Him for Zwei, that is an upgrade. And then speaking of Zwei, a story I've been telling recently on my Twitch is playing against Spirit leading up to the Budapest Major. Players in scrims, they don't use their real names. They use different names they want to use on Steam, right? Anything random. And the amount of times I was convinced that Zwei was Donk was incredible. I mean, this guy was playing unbelievable, hitting so many headshots, and it felt like he was kind of understanding, finally getting comfortable, like how he wanted to play and all these things. And he played the Major, and he actually had a pretty solid Major. But again, I think the community had lost a lot of patience with him. That was maybe affecting his confidence more. Maybe the organization was a bit tired of him. They decided to get rid of him. And what I love about this is opportunistic from PARIVISION. So PARIVISION, I think, were probably happy with AW on their team. I don't know how to say his name, but they saw this player and they thought, this is our chance now to make a big upgrade on him, a big upgrade. And that's exactly what they've done. And they've brought him in, and this lineup now is scary. And their game so far, really impressive, by the way. Very impressive. The one dodgy map against Ents, but they destroyed Astralis. They made them look really poor, I felt. This is a really scary team. Young, aggressive riflers with extremely good aim, a coach who keeps things very simple with the way they set things up, and James as well, just a fantastic clutch player, never dies of his AWP, makes good gamble calls and all these things. This is a scary team this year. This is a really scary team. I would even put these here and say this is the team right now, PARIVISION, to watch. And Zwei playing as this lurker, this anchor player as well. This is a scary team. There is no weak spot right now. These guys shoot really hard. Keep an eye on them for sure. And as it turns out, during editing, PARIVISION actually won Blast Bounty, beating Spirit, Furia, and Falcons on the way through and only losing a single map. Quite incredible performance, and perhaps a sign of things to come for the rest of the year. And we have the Saw core joining BC game. I think this is better than, was it Nexa, Andu, and Akanito? I think this is better, but I don't think this is the answer. And I'm just, the cynic in me says, are you just happy to get Mutiris and you're taking the other two for the VRS core, and then in 3 months time or however long it is before you can kick them, you just kick them and you just take their invites, play the tournament, and then kick them? And I don't like this, because I think Mutiris has really earned this shot. He has really worked for a long time bringing up mediocre lineups and just making them really good. And remember, again, last year, Saw were in my could be messy category, and they started off really poor and then they got better and better. And at the end of the season, I think they even beat my team twice. They came third at Bucharest. They look really good and they're always drilled. So I would put this as an upgrade, but I'm a little concerned that this is the big break that Muterius has been waiting his whole career for, and he might not even get a fair chance. That would suck. And then Fozy and Ryu for Astralis. I think there's positives and negatives for this. I think Ryu is very talented. Fozy is pretty consistent as well. I think he's a pretty underrated player, but you are sacrificing the language, and this is the biggest advantage that a team like the Mongolz and a team like Aurora can have, is that they can just communicate things like so quickly and cleanly. There's no thought process about taking something in, translating it whilst you're focusing your crosshair and moving forward or anything. It's just instant and it's easy to play. That makes everything a downgrade for sure in terms of just speeds of things. And Astralis had a lot of experience. They've taken Major Scout and they've taken Device out. And I think Device for Fozy, I don't think you can argue that Fozy is an upgrade over Device. Ryu over Magix has looked pretty solid so far, Ryu. I think he has a lot of potential there. I'm not sure overall if this is an upgrade though. The motivation as well was a nice one, bringing some like younger, hungry players in. They should have lost to Fnatic at Blast Bounty, and then they got crushed by PARIVISION in that game, and that was really uncompetitive. I think I'll put this here for now, and there are question marks here. This is a lot cheaper team, that's for sure, but we're gonna have to see how this one kind of works out. And then we have M80 with JBA. I think I would treat this one kind of the same. M80 just in this weird kind of period where they're just way better than all the NA teams, but when they play the EU teams, they just look really underwhelming. At the Major, they won their best of ones. I think they only won one best of 3 and they won 5 games. So I think they've kind of gamed the system quite heavily there, which is, you know, fair play to them. There's no difference between winning a best of 1 to win the best of 3, right? They're worth the same. Changing out Hexed. Hexed was the allowed guy who was statistically putting up similar numbers to JBA. Is this better? Maybe. I think this lineup, they kind of want to see him kicking on a bit. I think on paper, they're a really good team. Really good team. Sin and Slacks are very much rate highly. The other guys can all shoot as well. I'll probably put this one here for now. And you kind of want to see more from an 80. And last one, Pain. And how to pronounce this guy, I'm not sure. Piria, I think. And he is a young, not even young, he's 23-year-old. And VSM was playing a very long time ago. I think VSM, when I was watching the games, he looked pretty sharp. I was kind of surprised. Mechanically, it looked good. I was a little bit surprised that they removed DJT and Davideus. They felt like their most consistent players in terms of like making decisions and things. And I think Blast was not a good start for these guys. But I don't know enough about these. They got crushed by Heroic. They beat Bet Boom, but Bet Boom, I thought Bet Boom had even folded. I think I would leave these here now. My knowledge of these South American players is pretty low anyway. So we'll go for that. Magix and Zontix, Spirit and PARIVISION. I think these are the 2 teams to watch this season. So those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this BC game core something they're going to stick with? Maybe, maybe not. As always, I'll see you next time.